Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ces Butner, and I have the honor to serve as this year's president of Rotary Club of Oakland. Founded in 1908, the Rotary Club of Oakland is the third oldest Rotary Club of some 35,000 Rotary clubs throughout the world. We are a community of 300 men and women from all walks of Oakland's civic, commercial, and community life committed to the Rotary motto of service above self. I'd like to welcome you to our 5,327th club meeting. For over 111 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests from around the world to our club meetings. We continue to do so virtually, so if you're a visiting Rotarian, or if you're a guest of a Rotarian, please let us know by typing your name and the name of your club into the chat box located at the center bottom of the screen, as indicated by the red arrow on the slide you're viewing now. By doing so, we will be able to recognize you later in this meeting. Also, we recommend that all participants view this Zoom meeting by clicking the speaker view button located in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And if you have comments throughout the meeting or questions for the speaker, please use the chat button at the bottom of the screen for that as well. And now, for our pledge and thought for today, Rotarian Abel Guilian.
Thank you, President Cess. I hope you all can hear me. If you would put your hand over your heart and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today's thought for the day is President Cess, is a quote from Barak Obama. He said that democracy doesn't work if we constantly demonize each other. For progress to happen, we have to listen to each other, see ourselves in each other, fight for our principles, but also fight to find common ground, no matter how elusive that may seem. Thank you, President Cess.
Thank you, Abel, for setting the tone with an apropos thought for the day. I think considering what we're going through right now. Because we want to remain grounded and focused, we begin our meeting by jointly reciting our vision, which is together
we
a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Well, I hope you enjoyed last week's meeting where we had Maestro Michael Morgan to kick off our Black History Month celebration and reminding us of the wonderful work that the Oakland Symphony does and how they're faring through this pandemic period. This week, we will continue our Black History Month celebration with a performance by, and a discussion maybe, from an award-winning artist. I'm excited about it. I think I can't wait to share it with you. We'll finally get it. But finally, as I remind you of the challenge to all, help me reach the goal for our second half of the year, bring in a new member. Many of you have stepped up already, but I just wanted to encourage you to bring a new member and share what Rotary service above self does for us all. So sit back and enjoy another of our great Civic Thursday meetings where you can catch a great speaker and get involved in Rotary where service above self exists. This week, we celebrate President's Day. And considering where we are today, I thought I'd better have Rotarian Abel Guilian come back up and tell us a little bit about this special day.
Thank you, President Cess. Good afternoon, Oakland Rotary number 3. So this coming Monday, many folks will have a 3-day holiday weekend. Sadly, not me. Officially, President's Day honors George Washington, the General of the Continental Army, as the President of our Republic. The holiday also popularly recognizes Abraham Lincoln, who preserved the Union during the American Civil War and brought forward the emancipation of enslaved peoples. As a military general, Washington held the army together through defeat after defeat as the nation strived towards independence from the British Crown. And Washington modeled servant leadership in the affairs of the day by returning to private life after his commission was over. Historian Alan Snyder notes that at one point, when pressed by some to become America's king, he soundly rejected that offer, saying, "That's not what we've been fighting for." That's such a contrast to the previous presidents, and I'll leave it at that. In 1968, the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, Congress moved a number of holidays, including Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, and Labor Day, on Mondays to give workers more three-day holiday weekends. And so while we may call this weekend President's Day, it's officially known as Washington's birthday. And interestingly enough, here in California, it's actually codified as Washington Day. And the Ed Code directs all public schools and educational institutions throughout the state to hold exercises in memory of George Washington on the Friday before this holiday. As you know, you can't get a holiday without a sale. And so many retailers actually changed the name and started referring to this holiday as President's Day sales to promote things such as cars, beds, and home appliances. And so with that, President Cess, I wish everyone a happy President's Day weekend and Lunar New Year, and hope everyone has a great weekend ahead.
Thank you so much. Now I'll go to Pastor District Governor Ed Guilian, who we have. Do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests?
Absolutely, we do, President Cess, and it is my pleasure to introduce them. First, we have a future district leader with us. She's been with us before from the Rotary Club of San Leandro. Jeffrey Bodle's guest, Diane Dorn, who is going to be Assistant Governor for Area 4A next year. So congratulations to Diane, and nice to have you with us. And then we have from the Rotary Club of Dublin, at the invitation of Mary Jiang, we have Patty Pringle with us. So welcome, Patty. Nice to have you with us. Let's see, we have Frank Paré, a visiting Rotarian, who brought with him a guest today, Matt Iverson Comello. So welcome both to Frank and to Matt. And I'm not done. We have some other great guests here.
Wow.
We have Mary Jiang's daughter here, Jennifer Jiang. So welcome, Jennifer, here to support her mother, who's going to be making a little presentation a little later. And then Keith Uriarte brought a guest with him. She's with Salesforce, Allison Woolsey, who was with us before and back for another visit. So Allison, so nice to have you back with us. And I think that's my list today, President Cess.
Wow,
Great group of guests.
Quite a substantial list. Very good. I want to thank you, Ed, and welcome all guests. We enjoy having you at our meetings, and hopefully some of you, like I think some of you may intend to join a little bit later. We are inducting 2 new members today. First, we have Communications Committee Chair Isaac Kos-Read, and then Rotarian David Kirsten. Both will introduce our newest Rotarians with 2 interesting facts about them. I ask you to hold your applause until both have been introduced. Isaac, go first.
Well, I'll be super fast because there's no one better to introduce this amazing next new Rotarian than herself, Zeydi Gutierrez. Take it away. I'm so excited to have you join this incredible group of people who are so committed to this community that is surrounding me in my virtual background. It's all you.
Thank you, Isaac. My name is Zeydi Gutierrez, and I work at AB&I Foundry. I am the Public Affairs Strategic Director. I have been at AB&I 15 years. AB&I Foundry manufactures soil cast iron pipe and fittings for commercial industry. Our product removes waste from commercial, institutional, and residential buildings. You can find our product at hotels in Las Vegas, Coliseum, 49ers Stadium, and even Alcatraz. We have a unique culture forged by generations of team members that have been innovative, hardworking, and believe in the importance of making a product right here in Oakland. We have always been involved in the community, but we adhere to the old adage of doing good and don't let anyone know about it. A few years back, we realized that we needed to be visible about our involvement in the community. We started open houses. One example of the things that we have been doing for years and that very few people knew about was melting guns for the Oakland Police Department and other counties in California. These are confiscated guns or guns that have been part of a buyback program. We also formed a community advisory panel with key stakeholders in the community, city, and county. We meet quarterly to update them on our operations, environmental, and safety program. We also partner with educational institutions from elementary schools all the way to universities like UCSF, Stanford, San Luis Obispo, etc., by providing tours, scholarships, internships, career day, etc. We're also the only advanced manufacturing facility that high school students tour during manufacturing day.
We clearly have so many alsos that I think we've run out of time, but you know what? We need to, I just put in the text there. I would like to organize a trip to ABNI with Rotarians to see the facility in action. Can we make that happen, Zeydi?
Absolutely.
All right, great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Rotarian David Kirsten, our other new member today is?
Thank you, President Cess. Nancy Williams, who is a business owner who exemplifies the emerging business order that business is really about more than dollars and cents, but really about higher ideals, core values, community, and social justice. And most importantly, being an honorable and just person, all that we do and say. Nancy is a native of Southern California. She graduated from UCLA, relocated to the Bay Area in 2014. She's owned a few different businesses over the years. Her most recent business is being a local franchise owner for Money Pages, which provides a lot of bang for the buck for small businesses in the Bay Area or Oakland. Beautiful advertising. It's also not subject to tech censorship. And Money Pages helps small businesses, nonprofits, promote and grow with award-winning print ads and compelling consumer offers. It mails out to 75,000 households in Oakland every month through a partnership with U.S. Postal Service. She's an active member of the community through BNI Network in Action in the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. And I want to just turn it over to Nancy to say a few words to everyone about why she joined the club. And thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, David, so much. And I appreciate you sponsoring me. I'm very excited to join Oakland Rotary. I went to my first meeting 5 or 6 years ago, and wasn't a good time for me, and this is now one of the best times ever. I have spent a lot of time volunteering from starting out as a little girl in Girl Scouts all the way up through high school doing choral and working with seniors, and then at UCLA we started a nonprofit to bring inner city kids to the campus on the weekends just so that they got used to the environment and it wasn't intimidating to them. So I know Rotary is full of various volunteer opportunities, and I'm excited to jump in. And just real quick on the magazine, hopefully many of you have seen it or gotten it in your mailbox, and we've been honored to partner with the Oakland Ballet for the December cover, and we look forward to working with so many more nonprofits in Oakland to highlight what the good work they're doing in the community, as well as offer competitive rates for small business so they can get the word out and get their business back on track from COVID. So thank you again. I look forward to meeting with and working with many of you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Zeydi and Nancy, and we are happy that you have chosen to join us. And please know that your family and friends are always welcome to join us and participate in our projects and events. By accepting membership, you have adopted a vision and you agree, conduct your affairs according to the Rotary four-way test, which is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? you will receive your Rotary pin, and we hope you will wear it with pride and find pleasure and fulfillment by attending meetings, participating in our service activities, and practicing service above self, and by contributing to the Rotary Foundation and Oakland Rotary Endowment. So now it's my pleasure, privilege, and honor to induct you as our newest members of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Let's give our newest members a warm Rotary welcome. Or you can do it like this since we're virtually. As I had said before, this is February is Black History Month, and I wanted to celebrate throughout this month. That's why we're having, I had the speaker, Maestro Michael Morgan, last week, and we're going to have the performance this week. But in addition to Black History Month and President's Day, happening in February, President-elect Mary Jeong is here to tell us about another special day in February. Mary.
Thank you, Cess. Could Sandeepa put up this first slide, please? While she's doing that, I'm going to start. So I'm saying Gong Hei Fa Chai or Gong Xi Fa Cai, which means may you be happy and prosperous. Lunar New Year is the longest and most important celebration in Asia, with over 1.5 billion people across the globe celebrating the New Year in China, Vietnam, Korea, Singapore for 2 weeks. The Chinese year 4719, Year of the Ox, begins tomorrow on February 12, 2021. The Chinese uses the lunar calendar, which has 13 months, which explains why Chinese New Year changes every year. Next slide. Legend has it that in ancient time, Buddha asked all the animals to meet him on Chinese New Year, but only 12 animals came. In order to decide their order on the Chinese zodiac cycle, the animal held a very exciting race. The first one to cross the river to the finish line would be first on the calendar. The second would be the second on the zodiac calendar. So in the race, the strong, hardworking ox was in the lead, with the rat closing by. Suddenly, the clever rat asked the good-natured ox, "Can I get a ride on your back?" And the ox says, "Yes." But then at the very last second, before reaching shore, the ungrateful rat jumped off the land to cross the finish line first to win the race. So the ox came in second, the tiger came in third, and so it went. And the happy-go-lucky pig took his sweet time and came in last. And the Chinese zodiac calendar is set. Now, Buddha named a year after each animal, and the cycle would repeat every 12 years. He announced that the animal born in the animal's year will have some of that animal's personality. The ox is a highly esteemed animal in Chinese culture because of an important role it plays in agriculture. So people born under the year of ox are usually hardworking, honest, creative, ambitious, cautious, patient, and handle things steadily. So their dedication and diligence make them ideal for professional and stressful positions such as doctors, lawyers, businessmen, politicians, and teachers. Oxen are also renowned for their technical skill and efforts in computing and engineering. Famous people like Barak Obama, Walt Disney, Princess Diana, and George Clooney were born under the year of the ox. So if you're an ox, this year you'll be either age 24, 36, 48, and so on. I was born in the year of the ox. So oxen, please identify yourself in the chat box. Now next slide. On Chinese New Year celebration, people wear red clothes. Next slide, please. Wear red clothes, decorate their poems on red paper, and give children and single people, remember that, Chris Lucky money in red envelope, or called Hong Bao. Look at the red envelope. They're very decorative and beautiful, and you have to have crisp new bills. And so the red symbolized fire and good luck, which according to legend can drive away bad luck. And the fireworks that shower the facility also drive away bad evil spirits. Tangerines and mandarins and oranges represent prosperity. Families would clean their house, wear new clothes, wear red color, and visit each other and get together for dinner and exchange food gifts. So gather yourself some oranges to get prosperity. Next slide. Due to COVID-19, there's no Chinese New Year parade this year, but the San Francisco Chinese Chamber of Commerce in San Francisco have commissioned several parade floats artists to celebrate the year of ox with 11 life-size ox statues that now stand tall and proud at various locations across the city, and one at the Oakland Airport. In addition to the oxes SFO and Oakland Airport, there's one in Chinatown, Union Square, Civic Center, Embarcadero Forest, Salesforce Plaza, Pier 39. So happy ox hunting. Remember the elephants you used to search for elephant? Now you can search for ox. Next slide. Okay, so who has a birthday on February 12th? Put that in the chat box. I have an extra calendar, Chinese calendar, and the Chinese character folk, which means prosperity. If you like a calendar, be happy to give you one. Okay, then give me your contact information. Next slide. Okay, this presentation was also posted in the Piedmont Post. So you got the early edition, and so they have the same information you got. And then next slide. Also in the Piedmont Post, they had a Valentine's special, and they highlighted my husband and me 45th anniversary. So in honor of the double celebration of Lunar New Year and Valentine's Day, Cess, I'd like to ring the bell twice.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation, that insightful and exciting presentation that we had on the Chinese Lunar New Year. Rotarian Winter Williams, I think you're going to introduce our speaker for this Civic Thursday, and it's my great pleasure to have you introduce him. I'm so excited about it. I think all of you will really enjoy this, so sit back and listen and learn. Thank you. Winter.
Thank you, President Cess. In the best of times, our artists and musicians need to be resilient in order to thrive professionally. But now more than ever, we want to learn from talented artists such as Terrence Brewer, who we've invited here today to share what it's been like for him. He's an award-winning record producer, concert performer, studio musician, band leader, music educator and instructor, lecturer, workshop facilitator, and much more. This will be a performance and a discussion. He's very seasoned at monitoring the chat, so feel free to drop questions there. And welcome, Terrence. I know you're no stranger to us, and it's wonderful to have you back. I'm dropping your website into the chat so folks can check you out.
I appreciate that, Winter. I appreciate the introduction and the honor to be back at Oakland Rotary. It has been a long time. Some of you have watched me, I'm going to almost say, grow up to a certain degree. I think I made my first Oakland Rotary appearances almost 20 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, 2003, 2004. So I've been dropping in and having the great pleasure of being around Oakland Rotary for a very long time. And as I look across the screen, I can see many familiar names and many familiar faces. And I'm once again honored to be back in the space with you all, you know, and this conversation. So I want to say a couple things up front. Winter mentioned, you know, I'm an improviser by nature, right? I specialize, though I do teach the history of music going back, you know, to pre-Western European days. I'm a Black American music artist. I play improvised music. I play music out of the African diaspora. I play music that, you know, originated in Africa, made its way across the Caribbean, and fostered itself here in this country. And in that spirit, I like to keep things pretty loose, pretty free flowing. I like to be able to kind of spontaneously move through. So I'm going to do one of the things I love to do best, which is play music. I'm going to do that first. I'm going to play a tune for you. But if you have questions, you can always drop them in the chat. And as Winter mentioned, I'm going to speak a little bit today about what it has been like over the last 10 months, 10 and a half months for artists, for musicians, for educators of music, which I am all of those. And, you know, as I'm going through, if you have questions or thoughts, please feel free to type them in and we'll see where the discussion goes. But first and foremost, let's get to a little bit of music. I'm actually going to start out by playing a piece for you by the great Charlie Parker, alto saxophonist, composer, band leader, who really gave the alto saxophone his vocabulary in jazz, and with pioneers like Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Christian, Thelonious Monk, helped create this music that we call bebop. And so here's a piece by Charlie Parker entitled Kansas City Blues. Thank you. Thank you.
You couldn't hear
Rotary
him,
Club of
but
Oakland.
everybody's clapping.
I can see him. I can see him. I appreciate that tremendously. You know, it has been a long time coming. And for someone like me who at one point in time was playing, 200 to 250 shows a year, to be stripped down to just a few shows a month over the last 10 months and all except maybe 2 or 3 of those happening in this digital space. It's been a trying time. But the heart of this music, right? The heart of jazz, the heart of blues, the heart of funk and soul and rock and roll and R&B, they're all musics that are tied to resiliency. And they're all musics that are tied through the idea of evolution and adaptation, right? That idea that if we don't adapt, we will die, right? And so the music always finds a way. And the music has found a way in this configuration as well. You know, I sort of have 2 very distinct sides to my life. There's the professional aspect of who I am in terms of performing in clubs, writing music, making albums, performing on other albums. And then there's the educational side of me. There is the side of me that spends you know, time educating young people and adults on the history of this music and what this music means, not only to this country, but to the world. And so for me in the last 10 months, you know, a lot of it has been about adaptation, right? And we'll start with the professional side. I mean, on the professional side of things, once the clubs shut down, we were all sort of at a loss. And what it really focused us all to do on both the educational and the professional side, but particularly the professional side, was to reassess exactly who we were, who we wanted to be, what clubs and venues and live music performing spaces meant to us and what they mean to us. And how do we then make that transition to being able to have a sustainable model for artists to share their craft and to be able to, you know, make money on that? Because the reality is, you know, a lot of musicians lost most of, if not all of, their income. A lot of the performing musicians that I know. And it has been a trying time. And instantly we were thrown into this situation where we needed to understand the technology that was available. And in the last 10 and a half months, we've seen the technology grow. Even this platform that we're using, Zoom, when Zoom first started, they had really no interface that was made to handle stereo sound, that was made to handle high quality sound, to handle high definition sound. And we've seen a platform like Zoom change and grow and adapt and evolve over these 10 months as well, including stereo feed inputs and high resolution and high definition audio sound, things that made the music experience that much better for everyone involved. But for the clubs, it was challenging. Most clubs didn't have the infrastructure to be able to set up multiple cameras, multiple microphones, and then be able to get them, you know, plugged in and patched into a space like Zoom to create these. And the ones that did saw some success initially. Then it became a matter of getting the word out, right? And not only getting the word out, but also getting people to come in, to you know, to show up, to be in the space. Now, the positive thing has been, because most of these performances that happens for us musicians happen at night, at clubs, you know, there's driving, there's parking involved, there's dinner if you're going out and all these things. A platform like Zoom and these digital spaces and live streams have made it really accessible in a lot of ways for folks who would not normally go out to clubs, who would go, I don't know, I'm not much of a club goer, you know, where am I going to find parking in downtown San Francisco, and then I got to walk, and it's late at night, and et cetera, et cetera. And so the digital platform has allowed us to not only engage with those parts of the audience, but also, of course, as we know, simultaneously, people all around the country and people all around the world. So there has been a really amazing benefit in some ways to this pandemic and in terms of the shutdown. You know, part of the evolution, and I think one of the spaces in which we will, which we have moved into, which we won't go back from, is this space of incorporating the digital spirit into what we do. You know, I can imagine a day, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, where I'm playing a performance in a live club and it's being streamed at the same time, which rarely happened, if ever, before. But I think that's going to be a real part of the equation now, and a real part of the way we understand the platform of presenting art, right? And of not only presenting art, but also, let's be honest, monetizing art and being able to get the art into the eyes and the ears of folks who are interested in it. You know, at the same time, this has allowed us to have musicians and artists and forward thinkers and producers who are creative minded to say, you know what? Well, what about, I don't need a club now, right? I've got my digital space. I've got room in my garage. I've got room in my, extra, room in my house, or I'm going to turn that into a production studio. I'm going to turn that into a performance studio. I'm going to turn that into the jazz club or the jazz hall, or the art space that I used to go out and perform in. And so we've seen these really amazing creative ventures come up. The other thing we've done, which I think has been great and really ties into the other part of what I do, is the educational side. You see a lot more talks. You see a lot more interactive discussions with people. You see a lot more of this sort of, kind of a whole view of the art, as opposed to, well, we show up, we listen to the music, we go home. Right now it's about conversations. Where'd the music start? How has it evolved? Where is it going? And I think, in my 25 or more years of playing music professionally, I think this is one of the first times that the conversation aspect of music is as deep and as broad as it has ever been, in terms of your access to artists, artists willing to come on the platforms and have long form discussions about what it is that they do. And even without, releasing a new project or a new album or talking about a specific performance, but really talking about the history of this music and the history of their own lives. And I just see here in the chat, someone wrote a great question. Thank you, Allie. Why do I feel music is crucial for our culture? How does it affect or change us? I have been playing music for 37 years. I have never met a person in my life who does not like some form of music. I've never met a person in my life who has not had music be a sustainable part of the memories of their life, right? We all of us, music is the soundtrack to who we are. It is the soundtrack to our lives. So just from a global perspective, music is such a part of what we do. Right now, you may only like a certain type of music. You may be into 60s Motown, funk, and soul, and you're like, hip hop, forget about it. Beethoven and Mozart, I don't want to hear it. Right? Give me this, and that's what I listen to. But again, I've never met a person who's like, you know what? I don't care for any kind of music at all. I've never met a person like that, and I've never met a person who, you go out to an event, particularly some kind of social gathering, and a song comes on, and someone goes, "Oh yeah, I love this song." Right? Music is everywhere around us. It is the story to our lives. It is the soundtrack to our lives. And that in and of itself is why it's critically important. One of the reasons why it's critically important. The other reason is that there is not a culture on this earth that does not have, dating back to its origins, music as a part of it. No culture. Every culture has had music and the celebration of music and song and dance as a part of their culture and as a part of their history. That in and of itself, to me, speaks to the fact that music is this, it is inextricably linked to who we are as human beings. Now, the music, of course, comes in many different forms and changes and evolves and grows and styles change and all of these things, and technology evolves. But music at its basis, that's as human a part of communication as you can get. And I would say also, music, and that's part of what has been so troubling about this time, is because there are lots of artists, sort of on the the difficult and challenging side of this. There have been lots of artists who, for many reasons, have been behind the eight ball in terms of being able to creatively express themselves. They don't understand the technology, or maybe they don't have the technology. When I sit on the board of directors for an organization called Independent Musicians Alliance. And when COVID first started, in one of our first meetings, we talked about how there were lots of musicians that we knew that are in our communities that literally didn't have computers, right? They didn't have laptops. They didn't have a desktop computer to be able to even upload Zoom onto. Forget about learning how to download the app, learning how to log into meetings, troubleshooting, all these things. And so you see right away, one of the things that bared itself out when the pandemic started was the inequity, right? And you talk about resilience in jazz, you talk about resilience in music, resiliency in human beings. Equity is at the heart of every single thing that we do today. And this digital space has created great access in many ways, as I mentioned, but it's also really created an even wider gap in that disparity that we see in inequity. And so again, you go from folks who are musicians who may be playing on the same bandstand together, and when COVID hits, some of the musicians have laptops, they have computers, they worked on Zoom before, they have microphones, they know how to, they understand technology, and there might be 2 or 3 other members on the bandstand who have no clue, they have no access. And we saw the same thing on the education side. And I'll get to some of these great questions that are here in the chat. We saw the same thing on the education side, of course. We saw really this idea that there are schools around the Bay Area who provide their students a computer or an iPad, right? There are many, many more schools, the great majority of them, who do not. And so we saw, of course, students having a lack of access to materials to be able to log into their classrooms. We saw students having a lack of, we just assume, of course, today that everyone has Wi-Fi. Oh, everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has, a computer. And then when COVID hit, we realized that was not the case. We realized that was actually not true. And then we also realized that, okay, you may have Wi-Fi in your house, but can your Wi-Fi handle you being on a classroom Zoom with other students when you may have 2 or 3 or 4 other people in your household who are also needing, Wi-Fi access? So out of this, was born a lot of really, a light was shed on a lot of different things. Some of them very positive, some of them very challenging. I'm just going to look here quickly in the chat because I see some great things. Steve Heckman. I see a shout out to Steve Heckman. I love Steve Heckman. He's a great saxophonist and clarinet player. So the question was, is it difficult to keep the audience focused when you're playing? The first thing I tell you right now, those of you who know me, and some of you in this audience know me, you've seen me perform before, you know that I walk on stage and the first thing I do is I start talking to people in the audience from the stage. I love being close to people and having that interaction. This is what the music is about. I love being able to see, hear, smell, feel the people. That's what it's about. So the first thing that happened on Zoom, of course, is I'm playing to silence. I'm staring at a screen in silence. So the main thing I did was to sort of focus myself was I thought, well, just pretend you're talking to a teenager. You're not going to say anything back to you, right? They're just going to sit there and stonewall you anyway. So I put on my hat that said, okay, I know what inspires me. I know what moves me. I'm going to trust that what I'm doing is going through the microphone and into your ears, and that you're loving it and that you're appreciating. And of course, people do, but it's challenging. So I wouldn't say it's hard to keep people focused. What I would say is that in some ways, as I mentioned earlier, Winter, I love the Rotary space, right? It's beautiful. It's this historic building. It has such an iconic architectural structure to it and high ceilings and all this amazingness to it. But when you're in the big room, right, the sort of the grandeur of the big room is one of the things that makes Oakland Rotary so fantastic. But it's also one of the things that when you're trying to have intimate conversations becomes difficult. However, we can get 91 people on a Zoom call like we do right now. And in a way, you all are it's almost like you're having a one-on-one conversation with me. You're seeing me on your screen, you're hearing me directly in your ears. So it actually takes this, very sort of non-intimate thing and made it all very intimate. And so it changed my perspective on the way I approached music and the way I approached sort of the intimacy of the music, right? And I actually love the fact that we get to be connected in that way. How did the volunteer? Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah. So the question here is, how did someone was asking about SF Jazz and Stanford Jazz, which are two organizations that I teach for, and the partnerships that we do for youth, which is true. Before COVID hit, I spent a lot of my time. I've been one of the lead teaching artists and curriculum creators for SF Jazz for 15 years. And so I spent probably 80% of the school year in schools throughout SFUSD and OUSD, in schools that most needed the resources of music and music education, and in East Oakland, West Oakland, Bayview, Hunters Point, Potrero Hill, and we were in the classroom with students, teaching them about poetry and teaching them about Bessie Smith and Big Mama Thornton and Ma Rainey, and teaching them about Langston Hughes and the unfortunate thing was that obviously the pandemic cut a lot of that out in terms of the in-person classroom work. But what it did was it allowed us to be creative and put together slideshows and screencasts that actually, the great thing is it could live on. When I create a 30-minute screencast that has audio and video and clips of artists performing and me speaking, well, the class can have that forever, and they can show it again, in 2 months, or they can show it again the next year, or they can show small snippets of it. So we've learned and we've grown and we've taken what life has given us, and we've found a way to continue to get the art into the ears and minds of young people. And it's interesting. This is the conversation folks always have about jazz and blues, bebop and things like that when it comes to the young, to young generations, to young people. If you study music and music history as I do and as I teach, styles change, tastes change, they evolve. Nothing stays around forever in terms of its efficacy, in its initial stages. However, what I do and what a lot of artists do who really know is you cannot teach. We teach these students and we tell these students, look, I know you love hip hop, I know you love R&B, but you can't love Jay-Z unless you understand Langston Hughes, right? You cannot love, let's Robert Glasper or, The Weeknd, right? Without understanding Chuck Berry, right? Without understanding, Billy Eckstine, right? There's a lineage to this. There's a musical tree that has brought forth all the music that is popular today. And it's all tied and all connected to this history of the music. And so when you start to get, go ahead, Cess.
Can we get some more music from you?
Yeah. Oh, look, he's cutting me off. He's like, I just want you to play.
Wait a minute. I want to make sure you know that when I ask the questions.
I'm giving you a hard time.
We got another one. We got another time to ask questions.
Perfect.
Now I can hear some music.
Absolutely. He wants his music. He's going to get his music. So the next song I'm going to play for you actually is one that falls out of the tradition of what we call the Great American Songbook. And the Great American Songbook is this collection of music that stems from Tin Pan Alley, and it stems from the early days of Broadway and Broadway musicals and the idea of what we call a cover tune. And the Great American Songbook is this collection of music that was from plays and from musicals and from things that were sort of in the popular music sphere. And, these are composers like Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein and things of that nature. And of course, because jazz and blues is the improvised music that it is, it was able to take these songs and these compositions and immediately bring them into the fold of jazz. And they were able to be performed in a way that sort of lent itself to what jazz is aesthetically. So the composition I'm going to play for you now is one of my favorites and one that I like to play and one I've been playing for a long time. And it's a piece entitled I'll Remember April. And one of the things about this composition is that it features this transition between Latin or straight eighth rhythms or Afro-Caribbean rhythms into swing rhythms, or think of jazz, that ting ting to ting ting to ting, that swing rhythm. So this is I'll Remember April, and you're gonna hear it featuring that transition between the Latin and the swing. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank
You make
you.
us feel so proud of you, Terrence, for being with us for so long and coming back again to give
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely. I think it's time to jump into those questions a little more. Yeah, we got a few more minutes, right?
I got time for about one or two more questions. That's
All
about
right. All right.
it. Susie, do we have any questions that you have missed on that? You're muted, Susie.
I was going to say, I think we got all the questions. We just have a lot of compliments.
All right. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. I see one thing here. Someone had a question about musicians and getting PPP loans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, geez, you know, it's an interesting conversation, right? Because again, we talk about equity, we talk about access. For those of you that, you know, and certainly the business community here, you have an understanding of loans. For a lot of musicians, you know, that process of applying for loans and gathering documents and showing the income you need to show continued sustainable income. I remember many years ago when I went to buy a house, you know, in my early 30s, And I remember the real estate agent, actually the financial agent, describing my income as a musician as volatile. Right? My income was volatile. I know there's probably some real estate agents in the audience, some loan people in the audience. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's been challenging. And yes, there has been assistance out there. There have been loans that have been granted. And, you know, there have been waves of it. And there's been some really great things. There's been folks who've stepped up and private donations and corporate donations and lots of different things. But it's really challenging, right? Because that can only be sustained so long when you're talking about paying rent, paying bills, forget about if you have children to feed and support, and sort of the suddenness of this. And so I know a lot of musicians that have moved out of the area also, you know, to places where they can afford. I know musicians that have had to move back in with their families and different things. So, but we are all still, the music is still so deeply seated inside of us. And all of those musicians that I've spoken about are still, the music has not left them, right? They're still finding ways to get out there and make it.
And soon we'll get out of this pandemic crisis and get back to listening to live music. People like you and all the friends that you have. Thank you, Terrence, for being our speaker today.
My pleasure.
This year, our club is making the homeless crisis a priority. To that end, and as our gift to you for being our speaker of the day, in your honor, we are making a donation to support our unhoused residents in Oakland. Additionally,
Thank you.
We would like to give you our Centennial book, which documents 100 years of service and friendship in the third oldest club in the Rotary world. Again, thank you, Terrence, for being our speaker for today. And thank you for bringing some music to us.
It was an honor and a pleasure, everyone. Thank you for having me.
President-elect Mary Jeong, I believe you have an announcement.
Thank you, Cess. So I talked about Lunar New Year earlier, and in the past years, the Rotary Club has celebrated Lunar New Year with a dinner at a local Asian restaurant. However, due to COVID-19, we are not able to dine in person. So in celebration of Lunar New Year 2021, Year of the Ox, the Entertainment Committee is proud to host, instead of cocktail with a president this time, we're gonna have cocktail, tea, cooking with the president. On February 18th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., Henry Poon, an insurance man by day and a passionate chef by night, will show us how to make pan-seared black tiger prawn and how to brew a great cup of tea. So Jesse has given you a list of ingredients and teas that you can purchase in ahead, and so you can make it after the cooking demonstration. See you next week at 5:30.
Thank you. Rotarian Winter Williams, you can tell us about our speaker for our next Civic Thursday meeting.
Sure. Yes, I'm happy to. Sorry, I thought it was Celeste. My bad.
Yeah, no, I can do it.
Are you ready to go, Celeste?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem at all. So next week, don't miss it. We have Jasmine Rashid. She's Director of Advocacy and Strategic Partnerships at the Candide Group, which is an organization that works with people and organizations who want their money to work for social justice through impact investing. She was a Congressman John Lewis Fellow, where she engaged in civil and human rights activism in Atlanta, and she will be presenting her financial activist playbook for supporting Black lives. It's very interactive. She'll have real examples of financial activism going on in Oakland, and she'll have lots of actions anyone can take to work towards creating inclusive people-first economy, no matter how large your income.
Very nice. Thank you, everybody, for an enjoyable meeting. I think sometimes we forget that while we do practice service above self among our first objectives, we like to have some fun too. So now when you're trying to recruit those new members out there, tell them that we have fun at these meetings also. So we do some things to have fun. Thank you, Abel, Abel, for the thought for the day. And thank you, Mary, for informing us about Chinese Lunar New Year. Thank you, Winter, for introducing our speaker artists. And thank you, Celeste, for informing about next week's Civic Thursday meeting. And most of all, welcome to our new members, Nancy and Zeydi. Jesse, before I wrap up, do we have any more bell ringers?
We do have a couple bell ringers, President Cess, along with your 2 bell rings and Mary's 2 bell rings. David Kittner rang the bell for Mary and the Year of the Ox, and Ruth Strop rang the bell for the Mary and the Year of the Ox.
Wow. So we got 4, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. 6 bell rings out of that.
President Sass, if I may ring the bell for Karen Friedman on her belated birthday, I'd like to do that as well.
All right.
Well, and since 7 is not as lucky a number as the number 8, especially in China, I'm going to ring one more time for a bell for getting us to 7 and for coming back and joining us with some good history to open the meeting.
Yeah. There we go. We
That's
got
awesome.
8. 8. That's a lucky number, right, Mary?
Lucky number.
So I'd like to end this meeting as we always do, and that's the way it went at the 5,327th club meeting on February 11th, 2021 at Oakland Rotary number 3, the 3rd oldest Rotary club in the Rotary world. Everybody remember, Rotary opens opportunities for service above self. And for now, this meeting is adjourned.